Hello dear friends. In this presentation, we're going to discuss about the digestive system of Scoliodon. As we know that the Scoliodon is commonly called as Indian shark or dogfish. Digestive system is the system which converts complex food material into the simpler form. Means the food which Scoliodon eat is made up of from complex chemicals called as polymer. It should be broken down into monomeric form or the simpler form so that the blood can able to absorb it and utilize for the purpose of the growth. So this digestive system is actually the breaking down process where we convert the complex food into the simple form by the help of the enzymes. So in this system, we're going to discuss about the alimentary canal and the associated glands, food and physiology of the digestion. So, but before starting the digestive system, let us discuss about the classification of the Scoliodon. The classification is includes the Scoliodon belongs to the phylum Chordata because it bears notochord. Subphylum is the Vertebrata because vertebral column is present. Group Gnathostomata because it have jaws. Superclass Pisces. The characteristic feature of Pisces is that they includes the cold-blooded aquatic vertebrates which respire by the gills and locomote by the fins. Then class chondrichthyes. In fishes there are two classes. One is the bony fish osteichthyes and second one is the cartilaginous fish chondrichthyes. So Scoliodon belongs to the chondrichthyes, means cartilaginous fishes. They having endoskeleton made up of from cartilage, which makes the body flexible in nature. Subclass Selaci, which means the skin of the fishes are covered by the scales, that is the placoid scales. Order Squaliformis means it having the included the sharks, which having two dorsal fins, first dorsals and the second dorsals. Genus is Scoliodon, which having the characteristic feature of depressed head and dorsoventrally flattened rostrum. And species is Sorokawa, which means black shark. So if we talk about the habits and habitat of the Scoliodon are not found in the marine water. They are the cartilaginous, their endoskeleton is cartilaginous. They are predatory fishes. They perform hunting and their food includes the fishes, the worms, the crab, the lobsters. They are the carnivorous. Their sexes are separate. They show the internal fertilization. We can able to identify between male and female sharks, and they directly give birth to the young ones. Now we come to our point: digestive system of the Scoliodon. So in digestive system, the first in digestive system we are going to study in three parts. The first is the alimentary canal, second one is the associated glands, and third one is the food and the physiology of the digestion. Alimentary canal is a long tube which having two openings. One opening is called as the mouth and another opposite opening is called as the anus. So in this tube, the food passes from one region to another region. And when the food passes, it encounter with or come in contact with the enzymes and the digestion is going to be occur. Means this complex form is going to be converted into simpler form by the help of the enzymes. So this alimentary canal is a tube in which the food passes or perform a journey from mouth to the anus, and when this food passes in this canal or in this tube, the digestion process occurs. So this alimentary canal provides a surface area for the encounter on the enzymes or a surface area to do the action on the food. That is the function of the alimentary canal. In the case of Scoliodon, the alimentary canal consists of the mouth, buccal cavity, pharynx, esophagus, cardiac stomach, pyrotic stomach, intestine, and the last part is the anus. Here we can see in this diagram. The first part of the alimentary canal is the mouth. Mouth is present in the ventral side of the head region and it is guarded by the upper lip and the lower lip. The mouth performs the function of the ingestion of the food. After the mouth comes the buccal cavity. The buccal cavity of the Scoliodon having two things. One is the teeth and second one is the tongue. The teeth in the case of Scoliodon are all same. That is called as homodont type of teeth, and this teeth can able to come whole lifetime of the Scoliodon. That is called as a polyphyodont type of teeth. So Scoliodon, the teeth are homodont type and polyphyodont type. The teeth here perform the function of the hold or to tear the flesh from the prey. Teeth do not perform the function of the mastication. It just help in holding the prey, and it just go to tear up the flesh or the piece of the flesh from the body of the prey. Because the Scoliodon is a predaceous fish. And the another part in the buccal cavity is the tongue. The tongue is non-muscular and non-glandular. After the buccal cavity comes the pharynx. This is the region which is called as a pharynx, and pharynx contains the gill slits. After pharynx comes the esophagus. This is the esophagus. This esophagus is it again a small tube which connect the pharynx with the stomach. The stomach, in the case of Scoliodon, is divided into two parts: cardiac stomach and the pyloric stomach. The proximal part of the stomach is called as a cardiac stomach, and the distal part of the stomach is called as a pyloric stomach. This stomach is of U shape in nature. The structure is U shape, and the proximal part is called as cardiac stomach. Why? Because this above the stomach heart is present. Heart means cardiac. Medical term of the heart is the cardiac. That's why this stomach is called as a cardiac stomach. This is the most developed part of the alimentary canal. You can see in the diagram. And the internal lining or the mucous lining of the stomach is highly muscular, because in this cardiac stomach mastication is going to be occur. Here the mouth do not perform the function of the mastication. Cardiac stomach is perform the function of the mastication. So for doing the mastication, they having very developed muscles fibers are present. In this cardiac stomach is connected to this pyloric stomach, which is again a small tube-like structure. And at the joining of the cardiac stomach and pyloric stomach, there is a one valve. That valve is called as a sphincter valve, which control the flow of the food. And there is a one sac. The sac is called as a blind sac. This pyloric stomach connected to the intestine, and where these two parts of the alimentary canal join. That is the pyloric stomach and the intestine. That part is called as bursa insciana. This bursa insciana connect the pyloric stomach with the intestine. If you see the intestine of the Scoliodon, it is a very small tube, and the internal lining of the intestine having anti-clockwise valves, rotated anti-clockwise valves, which means the valves which is rotated, the intestinal mucosal membrane is in a form of valve rotated in an anti-clockwise manner. This is called as spiral valve, and the spiral valve perform the function of the retardation of the food and to increase the surface area of the absorption of the intestine. This scroll valve is a characteristic feature of the intestine of the Scoliodon. This is present only in the Scoliodon. If you see the intestine is short. In the case of, why short? Because the Scoliodon is a carnivorous fish. In the case of herbivorous fish, if you see the intestine of herbivorous fish, for example, rohu, katla, mrigal, their intestine is very large, because the herbivorous fish have to digest the cellulose which is present in the cell wall of the plants. But for the digestion, in the case of carnivorous fishes, the intestine is short, and in the case of Scoliodon, they have the scroll valve. That is the characteristic feature of the Scoliodon. The last part of the intestine is called as a rectum, and from the rectum arises one gland. This gland is called as a rectal gland, and this last part of the intestine, it opens to the anus. The anus is the last part of the intestine, and the function of the anus is the egestion of the food. And this anus opened into the cloaca, that is a common opening of the digestive system and the urinogenital system. So this alimentary canal is associated with the glands also. Here we can see these are the glands which is present in the case of Scoliodon, and these glands perform the function of secretion of the enzymes, which is going to convert the complex food into the simpler one, or which is going to help in the conversion of the polymer into the monomer. So alimentary canal is a tube starting from the mouth and end to the anus, and inside this tube enzymes are secreted by the help of the glands. So the glands which is associated with the digestive alimentary canal, they are called as associated gland or the digestive glands. There are 4 digestive glands which is present in the case of the Scoliodon. That is the gastric glands, liver, pancreas, and the rectal gland. Gastric glands are the glands which is present in the stomach, the lining of the stomach having the glands, the cells which secretes the secretion called as gastric secretion, which consists of the enzyme pepsin and hydrochloric acid. This hydrochloric acid makes the cavity of the stomach acidic in nature. So in that pH, the enzyme pepsin can work. And this hydrochloric acid also break down or perform the function of immune system by killing the food the bacteria which is coming along the food. Second gland, that is the liver. Here we can see this is the liver. Liver is the largest gland of the body and it is a multi-purpose gland performing various kind of functions. This liver is made up of from two lobes, right lobe and the left lobe, and the shape of the gland is V shape. It consists one bladder called as gallbladder, which stores bile. So the function of the liver is the main function related to the digestive system. The main function of the liver is to secrete the bile, which makes the cavity of the intestine alkaline in nature. Liver also perform other functions like storage of the glycogen. And the next gland, there is a pancreas. Here we can see pancreas. This pancreas is again a bile gland, and the function of the pancreas is to produce the pancreatic juice. It secretes the enzymes called as amylopsin, trypsinogen, and the lipase. These both glands, the liver and the pancreas, they secrete their secretion into the intestine. There is no any salivary gland in the alimentary canal of the Scoliodon. So there is no digestion in the buccal cavity. The digestion starts in the stomach. The last gland, there is a rectal gland. Here we can see rectal gland. This is the last part of the intestine called as rectum. And from here arises one gland. That gland is called as a rectal gland. But this rectal gland do not perform any secretory function. They are considered as a lymphoid organ. So if we discuss about that, how the digestion going to occur in the case of the Scoliodon, the Scoliodon is a predatory fish. It performs hunting and it is a carnivore. It eats other animals. The food includes the fishes, the crabs, the lobsters, and the worms. And this is the food of the Scoliodon. This is Scoliodon just take a bite, tear out the flesh, and by the help of the teeth, and the food go as it is in the stomach. In the stomach, the digestion is going to be start. In the stomach, the gastric gland releases the enzyme called as pepsin. This pepsin act on proteins and convert these proteins into proteoses and peptones. The cavity of the stomach is acidic in nature by the presence of hydrochloric acid, release of hydrochloric acid by the gastric glands. Thus, next, this proteoses and peptones or the remaining food goes into the intestine. In intestine, there are secretion of the liver and the pancreas. Liver releases the bile, which help in the lipid digestion, and it make the medium of the intestine alkaline in nature. Pancreas releases three enzymes: amylopsin, trypsinogen, and lipase. Amylopsin act on starch and convert it into monosaccharides. Trypsinogen act on proteoses and peptones and converted it into amino acids, and lipase act on lipids and convert it into fatty acids and glycerol. So here, these are the enzymes which are converting this polymer into the monomer. Proteins are polymer, starch are polymer, and lipids are polymer. And the amino acids, fatty acids, and glycerol and monosaccharide, they are the monomeric form. So when the food, there is no digestion start in the buccal cavity. Digestion start in the stomach. In the stomach, there is a release of gastric glands which secrete enzyme called a pepsin, which act on proteins, which are very polymeric complex chemicals. And this pepsin converts proteins into the proteoses and peptides. And when food enter into the intestine, there are the enzymes released by the pancreas, amylopsin, trypsinogen, lipase, which amylopsin act on starch. Again, it is a complex food, polymer, and it converted into the glucose. That is a monomer or monosaccharides, glucose, monomeric form. And the second enzyme, trypsinogen, which act on this proteoses and peptones and convert into amino acids or the monomeric form. These amino acids are the monomeric form of the proteins. Lipase act on lipids, which is again a complex chemical, and converted into simpler form, fatty acids and glycerol. Now all this monomer, glucose, amino acids and fatty acids and glycerol, it can be absorbed by the blood and utilized for the purpose of the growth. Because proteins, starch and lipids, the blood cannot able to absorb it. Because these are the complex chemicals, they having a large size, and the blood vessels having the pores. These pores can able to absorb only this monomeric form. So the function of the digestive system is to convert this complex food material into the simpler one. So this is a breaking down process or catabolism process, and it is by the help of the enzymes. So the references which we can use for the study of this system is the books. There are two books: Modern Textbook of Zoology Vertebrates by R.L. Kotpal and The Recorded Zoology by E.L. Jordan. So thank you very much, and we meet again.